The idea of intent-based leadership really centers on this idea of control, giving the team as much control as possible. Another way we say it is let the doers be the deciders. Let the people who are actually doing the work make as many decisions about the work as possible. And that's what we call control, the ability to make decisions. Now, you can't just willy-nilly give people control. It needs to be anchored in their technical competence. If you're going to make decisions about the reactor or operating the submarine or operating a nuclear power plant, flying an airplane, making software, whatever it is, you need to know your job, but also clarity, organizational clarity. What are we trying to achieve? Now, this is where I play in the book. This is the structure in the book, Turn the Ship Around. I underappreciated 3 other elements of this structure, because they were so ingrained in the Navy, which allowed me to give control. And they were these down here. Clear ownership, which connects to clarity. Do we know who owns this thing? If I could walk around the submarine and put my hand and say, touch it, who owns this, and touch the processes and the things, and there was always a one-to-one relationship between here's the process of the thing and here's who owns it, then that was great, because then we didn't have to worry about figuring out what decision rights there were. Then there were clear processes. So this was part of the technical competence. And then underpinning the whole thing was clear language. We even had a book, it's called the Interior Communications Manual, which tells you how to say the name of every piece of gear on the submarine and how you give orders. So it's everyone, and an interior communication violation was one of the most fundamental errors on the submarine. So for example, HP, a high pressure air compressor, HPAC, we'd write it HPAC, number 1 HPAC, number 2 HPAC, if we were writing an order. But it's pronounced HIPAC, not HPAC or high pressure air compressor. Those would all be no-nos. And if someone said that, someone else would most likely raise their hand and say, hey, it said we pronounce it HIPAC. And it may seem silly, but if you got some part of the organization calling people clients and another part's calling them customers, then you spend all this time arguing, well, what are you talking about? And there's this ambiguity that's unnecessary. You want to remove all unnecessary ambiguity. So if you want someplace to start and you feel like maybe your organization isn't defined to the level where you can start giving control, it doesn't seem to be working, you might want to start down here with language. Make an organizational dictionary and say, okay, what do we call this? What do we call this? When I say this word, what does that mean to everybody? Control, we tune it based on competence and clarity, but those rest on these more fundamental below the iceberg pillars. I'm David Marquet, that's your Leadership Nudge.